using a puppet that I'm working on right now to demonstrate how to attach your head to your puppet. So with this one, with this character, I have a 3D printed body, and I have wire armatures for the legs, and I've attached them here at these 8 points using epoxy and some of the techniques I've shown in my other videos using electrical tape to help protect that wire. And then these sticks here are shish kebab skewers that are making the legs stiff wherever I need them to be. This is a spider character, so when I want to bend that leg, it only bends at the joints. So you can see right now I'm starting to cover it with the pre-wrap, which is that thin foam. You can also see that in one of my other demos. Here's the head that I created. It's a combination of a 3D printed part and some Sculpey. So the jaw itself is removable. I have a magnet glued in there and a magnet glued in here. And what I've done is I've sculpted these replacement mouths and made them so that they could pop out, and then I could have him smile. But what I did is I made the face first and sanded it and made it look really nice, and then I used soft clay to create several mouths. I have 4 or 5 positions. Now on the back of this character there's a hole right there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some epoxy putty and get a length of multi-layered wire and attach it to this puppet here. There's a hole right there. And I will show you that technique in a moment. Now I'm ready. I have my neck piece here, my wire for my neck, and I've mixed a small amount of epoxy, and I've mixed it thoroughly. This is a 2-stage process, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it to the body first. In some cases you would already have a wire coming out of your armature, so you wouldn't have to worry about 2 stages. But for my particular case, that's how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to take some of this epoxy and I'm going to roll it into some thin little snakes, and I'm going to feed it down inside the hole of the body of this character. I'm not going to do too much because I want to make sure there's room for wire in there. But what this is going to do is once you shove the wire in, it's going to coat the interior of the hole with epoxy. So it's almost like packing a musket. So you're going to kind of push it down in there, and you might have to do it once or twice. It feels like it's a good amount, and you can work it in there. Now this will work the same way if you were packing it in for your head. Now normally I will put a little bit of electrical tape right at the edge there, which will help protect that wire. But I can also make a little donut right at the edge there, and that donut's going to also have kind of a round edge to this epoxy to help protect the wires as you move the head around. So this first part is basically done. You could pack a little bit more down into that hole by using a small tool, like I'm doing here, just to make sure that there's enough epoxy to make sure that that wire is really compacted in there with, against the body and against the wire. So that stuck right there. And then I think I'm going to make another little sort of donut piece. Be careful not to move this wire once you've packed it in there, and because any sort of wiggling is going to loosen up the connection inside that hole. So I'm going to put this donut on, and then I'm going to wait until it sets up, and then I'll do the second half and I'll show you how to attach it to the head. So there's some time has gone by. Now this part right here, the neck that attaches to the body, is now set. So the next thing here I'm going to do is be attaching the head to the body. So it's important to figure out how long you want your neck by looking to your character sheet to figure that out. So I know that I want the neck to be a certain length, but I also have to take into account that there's a hole at the back of this head. So I'm going to take a small piece of wire and put it in there to see how deep it goes. And I know that it goes that deep. So by figuring out the length of your neck plus the length that goes into your head by holding this little wire up, then you'll know where to cut the wire. Okay, so I'm going to cut it right about there. And here's my pliers. Okay. Okay, now as before, you're going to take your epoxy and you're going to make a little snake and you're going to fill that hole a little bit. And again, it's like packing a musket. Okay, so now that it's in there, I'm going to carefully push the wire inside the puppet head. You might want to try to twist it around a little bit. It's getting stuck on something. Let me just straighten that out a little bit. There we go. Okay, so now the head is attached, but to make sure you secure it, take some extra epoxy and pack it around this hole here for the neck, at the base of the skull. Try not to move your puppet head around too much. And then you're going to pack the epoxy in. Don't spin your head. This is the point where you want to make sure that you really stabilize the head in your hand and pack the epoxy down into that hole. So just feed a little bit more in there. Until you see that it's all the way filled up. And then the last thing you're going to do is to make a small donut for the back of the neck. So it's kind of hard to see from this angle, but you're going to take a little bit of epoxy and snake it around the base so that when the character is moving his head back and forth, there's a nice soft barrier of epoxy, not soft but rounded, so it doesn't cut into your wire. So it looks like that. Now be careful not to touch the head. Hold it by the body, which is already secure and set up. So once this is set up, you're ready to go. And then you can fill in your neck with some foam or however your character is going to be fleshed out. And that's how you attach your head to your armature.